So Ben, let's talk about privacy. What's your stated position on privacy and the use of privacy for personalization?
So I think there's a couple of things. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we live in a society which is based on capitalism and marketing. Organisations market, whether in the old days it was through newspaper advertisements, nowadays it's through mass personalisation and digital offers. But if you accept the fact that we live in a society where there is advertising, and that may be or may not be right, but if you accept the fact that we do, then you need to accept the fact that in a digital age, that's going to look different. And so personally, in the past, I opened my newspaper and there were a bunch of advertisements that had absolutely nothing to do with me, no context whatsoever. Today, what happens is I get to a new city and I get Google saying, hey, we know you drink coffee, we know you like cafes, here's a cafe close by you where you can get a good coffee, and maybe here's a coupon for that cafe. I totally realise that I've given up a degree of privacy because Google knows that I drink coffee. But if it means that in a new city I can get a coffee that that appeals to me, I'm prepared to do that.
So first of all, if you're talking about good coffee, we're definitely not in the United States of America.
Luckily, we're in Germany,
okay,
so there's good coffee.
That's good. But once we get past that point, then the next point that you made is Google knowing that you like coffee. Google has no business knowing that you like coffee. They have no business knowing that you're in a new city. They have no business knowing anything about you unless you decide to give that information to Google. And that's what most of us have done in the last 10 years in exchange for free products. Facebook, Google, Apple, everybody gives us something for free in exchange for, just tracking information that will be anonymized, so we'll never know anything. It will be aggregated, and that's not true. What they do is they actually track you to the detail where they can actually, influence and change your decision and change your journeys and change your trajectory based on what they want. I want to do advertising. I want you to buy coffee. So then I'm going to send you a coupon for a 20% off a cup of coffee like you had last week because you happen to be within 3 blocks of another place like that. Guess what? You were not going to get a cup of coffee before, but now because you got the coupon, you will. So all of a sudden, your behavior, your journey, your day is changed because Google decided through an advertiser that you need to actually, get a cup of coffee. That's just not right.
At a conceptual level, I hear what you're saying, but the problem is that this isn't happening in isolation. We've always been marketed to. And 20 years ago, when you opened a magazine and there was a beautiful person who was driving a particular type of car, and that made you more likely potentially to buy that sort of car. Is that any different? So in isolation?
So yes, it's different because in that case, you only would have gotten that advertisement if you were between 18 and 24 years old, a male living in a specific cities or specific regions of the world, right? That's a mass group that they're advertising to, and it's not towards you. When that changes, when Google, whoever, and let's stop using Google as an example, when the brands decide to use all the data they collect about you to actually influence your decision making, you personally, not everybody else, on the use of data, that's when it's wrong. The data that I produce, everything that I do, everything that I create, everything that happens, it's mine. Doesn't belong to anybody else. It doesn't belong to the advertisers. Just because they can buy it from 3 or 4 different sources and put it together, doesn't belong to them. They don't get to make a decision on what I do or what I need to see based on what they want to sell me. That's the difference. I'm not disagreeing that it's a capitalistic society and it's based on advertising, but it shouldn't be. We should be able to claim our privacy, and we should be able to say, you know what? I don't want to give you all this information for advertising. I want to do a model more like the VRM, the vendor relationship management. I control my data, every single interaction. The vendor will ask me what they want, and I will say yes or no.
I think, though, that your perspective seems to assume that it's a one-way street, that it's simply this vendor, whoever it might be, shoving advertising down my throat for their gain. But the advertising that they're shoving down my throat is actually contextual for me. And so if I go to a website, and I'm a big trail runner, if I go to a website and there's an advertisement about the latest Salomon trail running shoes or something, that's actually interesting for me. So I'm more than happy that I'm getting more contextual, more relevant information because I've given up a degree of privacy.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. We cannot run out of time, but thank you very much for the discussion. It was actually very good.
Thanks, Esteban.